Hi, welcome to the James Gray Recruitment Podcast. My name is Mario Fonda and I'm your host. I'm joined today by Graham Stewart of Digital Guerrilla. Welcome, Graham. Graham's been involved in the construction industry for more than 30 years, and over the last 25 years, he's told me that he's been involved in the 3D modelling side of things, and more recently, I would imagine 10 years plus within the kind of BIM environment, and had started Digital Guerrilla back in 2017. So, Graham, what are you doing over at Digital Guerrilla?
We're doing lots of things. We're supporting clients with digital transformations. We're helping design teams understand what it is the clients need in regards to these new digital deliverables, especially with the introduction of the new ISO 19650 series and the migration from BIM level 2 to the new UK BIM framework. So, and Revit software and a whole bunch of other stuff. So basically just help support them to make sure they understand what it is they need. But more importantly, a lot of employers fail to understand where their failings are. Now, they all believe their staff are brilliant at absolutely everything. They bring in jobs and go, right, guys, crack on. But that's not always the case. You know, they need to understand what is the capability. There's lots of new software, lots of new technologies, lots of new processes, the new ISO and the old BIM level 2 brought in that employers don't really understand, and they just believe what their staff tell them. So I think bringing in external consultants like ourselves, and there are others, there's many others in the industry, to actually help support them actually deliver and actually make sure they actually are as good as what they think. And I think over the last year, we've seen a real transition because a lot of employers have been playing like jumping on like let's say the BIM bandwagon for the last few years and said, yeah, we can do absolutely everything. But it's only now because clients and other professionals started to get more mature and understand what it is they're actually delivering that they can actually look at these other consultants and go, maybe you're not as good as what you thought you were. So maybe there's a more support and training you need. So that's where consultants like ourselves come in as well, which is quite good.
Brilliant. Do you mind me asking? Obviously, we're both based in Scotland, but does your business only look after clients within Scotland, or is this a UK?
It's like over the last 4 years now. It's been mostly UK focused, but I've done projects in America. I've visited Gibraltar to deliver BIM awareness sessions, and I spent a month in India in the back end of 2018, beginning of 2019, training over 60 staff in COBie, which is fun enough why we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, COBie is the word that always reminds me a bit like the government Cobra. Yeah. When there's an emergency, we've heard lots about that on the news recently, but COBie and Cobra, is there a direct correlation, I suppose, between what the government is doing with regards to, this pandemic and maybe a construction project right at the front end when we deal with COBie?
Normally, I suppose there's maybe some synergies there, but obviously Cobra is mostly all about national emergencies and how do you actually tackle this. I suppose you could probably look at that from an information manager's point of view as normally we get involved when something's going wrong, especially if we haven't been involved at the very beginning of our projects where we should be actually advise clients of what should actually be doing. So you do find a lot of times we get involved when things start to go wrong, and maybe design teams don't know exactly what they're doing, and that's where we tend to get involved. But we hopefully try and get involved at the very, very beginning so everyone knows exactly what they're doing from day one, and we don't get to that national emergency state and everybody knows exactly what they're doing from day one.
So just to clarify, so COBie, when we talk about COBie, what should a client be aware of then specifically when that word appears in a document?
Yeah, so COBie stands for Construction Operations Building Information Exchange. It was invented back now circa 2007, released. It was it was working with the US Army Corps and NASA to try and understand now asset managers. If you look at a project, we have what's called hard landing. We can talk about soft landings in our podcast, but hard landings basically you finish a project, you hand over all your information, that includes your O&M manuals and all your data, and then you walk away. And then maybe a year after handover, the asset manager or FM team will start to analyze all that data and plug it into their CAF FM system or their computer-aided facility management asset management system. Once they input all the data, then they can understand what the building is and how they can actually go and manage it going forward. The whole point of the COBie project, at least that's started, and it still is pushing, because we're at 2.4 now, he's pushing to 2.5 over the next few years, was basically to give asset managers hindsight of what's actually coming. So instead of waiting the FM manager, the asset manager, waiting 5 or 6 years to actually fully understand this data. They could actually see from a very, very early stage, years in advance, some of the information that's actually coming. So by doing that, they could actually get foresight of financial planning years in advance. So they could actually look at now 1 or 2 decades away all the data they're getting. And also by providing data early, we can actually do what-if scenarios. They can test it, their CAFFM system, make sure it actually works before they actually get it, rather than the company hand over and they go do all the work, which can cost a lot of money because clients will have to bring in like FM contractors, they'll have to analyze all the data, excuse me, they'll have to input all the data, and that costs a lot of money. So if you can actually tell your design team at the very beginning, this is what we need, then it's going to save a lot of time and effort and money for the client going forward as well.
So this is where a lot of people, when I speak to them, and I'm not suggesting it's clients or candidates, it's a mixture of everybody. We talk about these 3D models, and that's BIM, but ultimately what you're saying here is the model is only a very small element of. When we're talking about BIM, we're talking about the life cycle of this building, of this project, and it's not just creating a nice model, because it's a completely different thing, isn't it?
And that's where a lot of people get confused or misunderstand the whole process. When they look at Revit, for example, which is one of the main bits of software, but we have ArchiCAD and IC and a whole bunch of other stuff. The 3D model, like I said, is a small part. But again, the whole point of BIM Level 2 and UK BIM Framework is we have to build everything in native file formats or native models and as 3D element, because that's how we collaborate and do clash detection and a whole bunch of stuff as well. But again, not all data has to live in the model, and that's where everyone makes the mistake. It's the same when we talk about common data environments. There's not one single source of truth. There's multiple sources of truth. We're trying to merge it all together so we know exactly where to find this information. COBie is the exact same. We're trying to structure all the data within the models, but also external, like now sequential databases or other systems, and trying to link all that together to actually pull it together into COBie, which could be an Excel spreadsheet that everyone can actually view, and then that can be uploaded to the CAFFM system at a later date as well.
Yeah, it sounds to me that if you're not 100% sure about what you're doing when it comes to BIM, you can end up spending a lot of money doing things that either you don't need to do at that particular stage, or you haven't done but you should have done, and that might draw you to the a lot of people talk about BIM and Revit and modeling. It costs a lot of money to do that, whereas it sounds to me that you're suggesting that actually it shouldn't cost you more money. It should ultimately cost you less money, providing the information is provided front end. And
totally agree. The design teams fall into the trap of charging for BIM or charging for COBie, which I've seen other consultants do, because they don't fully understand the process, or because the process they're used to is using software like Revit to generate drawings, and that's all they know. But going forward, consultants need to obviously rethink how they deliver things, because it's not all about the drawings anymore. It's all about the data that's behind that. So I always tell clients, because as an information manager, I'm there to validate and make sure what they're doing is correct. So when you produce a design drawing, for me, that's 100% correct, because again, I don't have a design responsibility, so I'm not going to check the fidelity of that deliverable. But when you actually take that drawing, you actually scratch behind the drawing, all the data might not sit in the right place, on the right order, or even the correct format. So I'm checking all those notations and syntax to make sure they're actually correlated and actually sit in the right place. Are we using the correct version of Uniclass 2015? Are we using the correct asset codes for the FM manager? So there's a whole bunch of things we've got to look at that as well. And this is where directors and senior partners and employers don't really understand what it is their staff are doing. They're still thinking they're just delivering a drawing, but they're doing so much more now, and that's where clients need to start to understand as well.
Yeah. So that's ultimately what the information manager's role is on the project. Is there anything else you would like to add specific to that particular role?
Again, information manager's basically there. Again, you can go and look up the CIC scope of services for information management that gives a brief outline of what we actually, or what we should be doing. Again, managing common data environments. But again, the biggest thing is actually help build a collaborative working environment, making sure everyone is working as close together as possible, or cooperating as much as possible. But a big part of that as well was make sure everyone's working in a consistent manner. So if we're talking about COBie, making sure everyone's inputting data in a consistent way, but more importantly, when we're actually exporting the data, it's getting it exported the exact same way. So again, COBie can be delivered via IFC, which is Industry Foundation classes. But again, in order to do that, everyone, doesn't matter what software you're using, we have to be exporting IFC in the exact same way. So when we federate it and bring it all together, we can actually analyze all the data in a consistent manner as well. So we're just there to make sure everyone understands what it is they're doing, or more importantly, what they've actually signed up to, because it's amazing how many consultants sign up to deliver projects and they don't actually know what it is they're delivering. So again, we're there to help them fully understand what their legal obligations or the contractual obligations are to deliver as well. Because one of the key things, again, we'll come back to the designers later on and what they're doing as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, there's a few questions I've got around, and this is really to help me as a recruiter understand, what everybody's role is. But I'm sure there's lots of people out there that are still a little bit confused about what their specific roles is. So can we break that down into, what's the client's role? You've obviously discussed what your information manager's role is, but the designers, the contractors, and ultimately what the end result should be.
Yeah.
So if we start with the client's role, what is ultimately their position on this?
Well, again, they need to tell design teams what it is they want.
Okay.
Again, with
sounds easy.
It does. With the old BS 1182 or PAS 1182 series, now it was basically clients who said you had to work to this and deliver everything. With the implementation of the new ISO 18650 or the UK BIM framework, as a framework, but the onus is on the client now to actually review that and tell the design team exactly what it is they need. When you actually look at COBie has like 272 bits of data. Now, to ask anyone to deliver all of that is insane. And a lot of those, we call them sheets, because we have now facility, contacts, zone space, and so on, floor and so on. A lot of these can be automated from certain bits of software, but again, the majority of it has to be filled in manually. So again, it can be quite, if design teams aren't used to delivering this amount of data in that format, it can actually be quite overwhelming. So our clients need to fully understand or fully document exactly what design teams need to deliver. So for them to do that, they need to make sure they've got an employer's information requirements. So that's basically now their script of what it is they expect you to do in the project. But more importantly, their asset information requirements. What assets do they have? What do they class as a maintainable asset? COBie is all about maintainable assets. It's not about adding data to absolutely everything, because FM and asset managers only look after certain assets in the facility and only look after the operation of certain assets. So the client has to determine in his building or their estate what assets do they actually look after. And for each one of these assets, how much data do they need to actually operate that facility going forward as well.
So I would imagine if you've got a heavily serviced building, well, I suppose if you look at the MEP services, I would imagine from an FM point of view, that asset's really important, regardless of whether it's a school or a commercial office or retail or a data centre.
And we are trying to standardise that. So the Scottish Future Trust have done a really important piece of work. They've released their, it's called a SIMP. It's again their standard information management plan. And it's actually based on the new £1 billion schools programme, which has been released in Scotland. So again, the Scottish Government and again Scottish Youth Trust are trying to actually build this almost like a common toolset that city councils can actually use for this whole schools programme. And it's hoped that based on that work, other clients can then use that in other industries and other departments as well.
So is that something that's accessible to anyone then? Or how do you get access to that?
Again, you can go on the Scottish Youth Trust website. They'll get the BIM portal. It actually links to all these platforms. Again, you can get all the guides documents. Again, if you want the actual workbook, you would need to get in touch with the Scottish Youth Trust. And again, that would be either Paul Dodds or Ryan Tennyson. You can get in touch with them to actually get more information about that as well.
Okay, so maybe grab some more information on that, and we can let people know how to get that information, some contact details later on. So so that's the client side of things. Then, can I ask, does the client, the designers, the contractor, do they all need information managers? Should there be an individual, or is there one person that looks after everything?
So inside each task team, which is what we call a design team or a discipline team, there will be now that task team's information manager, and again, their role is to make sure what they're delivering is correct, in the correct format. There will be an overall project information manager, and again, basically, for me, I can sit either under the architect, which is the way a lot of clients like to work. You're almost now subcontracted to the architect or the lead designer, or you can be a direct appointment through the client.
Right. Okay.
Either, but basically you're there to look after the entire team. To make sure they're delivering what the client is getting. And ultimately, you're validating what's been delivered to make sure the client is getting and it is actually fit for purpose.
Okay. So when we look at the designer's role then, and tell me a bit about that, because again, there's always that argument between contractors and designers, who's het for what.
Well,
what's the designer's role?
Well, again, COBie's actually quite good that way, because there is specific. Again, we talked about these like now 272 cells. There is a direct split between designer and contractor. So we have, as part of the COBie validation process, we have a designer's check, and we also have a contractor's check. So, for example, if I pick one of the sheets, if we pick, say, the component sheet, the component sheet has things like warranty serial information, serial number, barcode, and stuff like that. That's and the same with the type sheet that has like warranty information. But again, this is information the designer wouldn't have any knowledge of. That would be the contractor. So you almost think the designer's actually inputting the placeholder. So they're putting the chair, the table, the window, and then when the contractor comes in, they'll actually input all their data. So the designer has to understand what is their responsibility. How much data do they actually need to put in? Because if they're building, again, look at MEP, because MEP has more elements than probably structures and architect actually put together. One into many, many millions. And I guess especially with some of the stuff we're doing in previous companies in Qatar for the World Cup, it was like hundreds of millions of elements that MEP were actually delivering. So this ran to like, I think the highest data set we had was like 92 million bits of data, so that they can run into now a lot of data here. So they need to fully understand what they're responsibility for. And again, for a designer, I always tell designers, this is your major risk, because if you just sign up to Revit or deliver a 3D model, that's great. If you then go, we can do COBie, but you don't fully understand how many elements you're actually going to be building or how much data you might be responsible for, that could run into many, many millions of bits of data. And I normally give our clients like a standard spreadsheet. We have all your data. If you put in 1 or 2 minutes, that's going to take you to input that data, it could run into 14, 15, 36, 45 months worth of data. So that could be information they didn't appreciate at fee, and they've just lost all their profit because they didn't understand how much time and effort it was going to take. Again, get back to not understanding your capability of your actual team. That's actually working the project as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to insult the capabilities of those individuals. It's just actually having the resource available.
As employers, we obviously believe in our staff are great, and of course they're great. They're doing their job every day. But again, there's a lot of new stuff we're actually asking me to do now. We're not just asking me to generate drawings. We're asking to generate a fully data-rich model that others can actually use as well. And again, a lot of people don't understand that, or they don't understand the risk that goes with that.
Can I ask a question on that then? So if we're talking that COBie, consultants charging for COBie, but then finding out that if they're signing up to deliver COBie, if they don't have the resources currently, they need to then recruit the resources. So then their overhead goes up, and their fee gets eaten into. So is there an argument that you should be charging more for COBie then, or should you not be signing up because you don't have the resources? What
most people will say is like BIM and COBie shouldn't cost any extra. It should be free. The only caveat to that is, as a designer, you would have to understand. If you look at your drawing, let's get back to basics. If you look at a drawing, all data on a drawing should also be in the 3D model and also in COBie, because they're all linked.
Right, okay.
There's no any extra data in COBie. So if you have a COBie export and there's data that's in COBie, but it's not in a drawing, but it's in the model, you then have to ask, well, should it not be in the drawing? So they're all correlated and all linked together. So there shouldn't be any extra information. The problem with designers, again, it comes back to this capability. If they don't understand or they haven't invested in support and training, then of course it's going to take their staff longer. If they don't have the expertise, they're going to have to hire in consultants like myself and others to actually help them. That costs more money. But again, that's not really something to charge back to the client. That's an inward investment. But again, we all live in a commercial world. Of course, if you're having to put in more effort to deliver a project, of course the client's going to get charged more money. Maybe not now, maybe further down the line, but to suit all that investment. So there's also our commercials that you've got to look into that as well.
So really what we're saying is, yes, there is a bit more investment required there, but but it sounds like in a lot of occasions you're spending the money 2 and 3 times by doing the same task, 2 or 3 times when you could have done it once, really.
It's the whole transition from CAD to BIM or CAD to Rev or CAD to 3D modeling. There was a lot of investment. And of course, now designers would have tried to up their fees to actually cover those costs as well. But at the same time, the more you invest, the quicker you become, then you can become more efficient as well. So by doing that, you actually get a commercial advantage, and you could be seen as a major player. Now, I know a lot of SMEs only have, say, 20 staff, and they are seen as now leaders in this field, and they actually are winning millions and millions worth of contracts because they are seen as a leader. Even though they're an SME at a very small level, they are seen to be in league with the major players in the industry as well.
Yeah, and that's where the value of Digital Guerrilla, for example, your own business and yourself going into a company, it's actually that education, it's the upskilling. And again, the world has got a huge skill shortage when it comes to engineering and construction. We hear it in the news all the time. We see it on LinkedIn. There's always an article about it every other day. What are we going to do about the skill shortage? But ultimately, that's talking about bringing new people into the industry, but also, I suppose the value you can bring to a company is upskilling those individuals and spending the time on your current employees and bringing them up to a level that you can add value to a project and perhaps reduce the cost of.
Well, totally. Again, it's like the way I always sell to clients is like, I'm here to train you so that you don't need me.
So you're making yourself redundant almost from that position.
But I'm always looking at other things. You're always going to need me. But the whole point is, I'm there to almost like train the trainer. I don't like to get into companies and train the entire company. I would rather prefer to actually upskill a few key individuals and then let them go and train the company, because it's actually better for the company as well, because it's actually they're invested in themselves and they're teaching themselves actually how to, and also if they get stuck, they can come back and I'll support them going forward. But you'll support these key individuals and they're going to push the message. So employers and designers and contractors, they're all starting to come around as our staff maybe don't know as well as we thought. But you've also got to appreciate your staff are there to do their job, and their job is to get drawings or do designs and get it out. They're doing that 40, 50, 60 hours a week. When are they supposed to learn about COBie and BIM and IFC and digital technologies and all this other stuff? Are they supposed to do all this in their time, or as an employer, are you going to invest in them and go, or you'll have like 10% non-billable hours to invest in your training education to that you then help the company and help us move forward. So as a complete change of thought how actual things work. And again, this comes back to the whole skill set as well. We wonder why there is a massive skill shortage when we're actually not investing in new technologies and training and education going forward as well. Staff are there to do their job. But also, I always tell people as well, when I'm in previous companies, if people came and asked me for training, I would always ask, how much have you invested in your own time? Because I think staff have to give something back as well. They have to invest in themselves before employers should invest in them. But again, that's just my view, old school view.
I've been recruiting for 10 years and, I've seen it. And I see it more and more often, especially those individuals who maybe want to become chartered, for example, and they come along and they say, "Listen, Mario, I'm looking to leave this business, and the reason I'm leaving the business is because I'm not getting any support to become chartered, and I would like to find a business that's going to support me." And the first question I say to them is, I say, "You do know that it's probably an 80-20 split." 80% of the work is done by you, and 20% of the time is supported by your employer. And I think in some instances, apologies, my phone was just ringing there. In some instances, that's misunderstood, that maybe that's 80% of the time the employer should be investing into into that process. And I suppose that's exactly the same thing when we talk about COBie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like people don't understand it, and it's not just COBie. This is like now we talk about a lot now other technologies like IFC, but even just all the standards. It's amazing how many conferences I've actually spoken at, and I always ask the audience how many have actually read the standards, and very few people actually put their hands up. You go, well, of course you don't understand it because you've not actually took the time to actually look at it. But most people look at it and go, oh, this is dull and boring, and put it away. But you need to actually, don't just read it yourself. Set up a wee committee in your company, get 2 or 3 or 4 of these, go and all read the standards, then sit for a couple of hours and discuss it at lunchtime or after work or before work. Isn't until you actually don't think you always have to do this yourself. There will be, try and find others in your organisation who actually are like-minded and want to push themselves forward and try and help each other, because
exactly
the way to learn. And again, even LinkedIn or Twitter. Again, Twitter's if you go on Twitter and you follow my hashtag StuartGH1970, so I'm giving away my age here, a whole bunch of, there's probably about a good core 20s in the UK discussing things every day, moaning and arguing how things should actually be done. But that's how we learn, because we're discussing, we're being open and go, this is my idea. And you go, that's not how I would approach it. And that's how you formulate a consensus. And that's why, and that's where other industry experts are coming together, like UK BIM Alliance are reading a whole bunch of guidance to actually help industry move forward. So we're actually trying, we are collectively trying to help each other. But again, you have to invest in time in that as well to actually try and learn and understand what it is people are talking about.
Yeah. And here's a rule of thumb that I use as well, and I say this to a lot of clients. I don't know if you'll agree with it or disagree, is I would much prefer for a client to recruit someone that really wants to do a job than try and recruit someone that has got all the skills but has got no interest in doing it.
Yeah.
And I suppose you see that across businesses is clients and employers need to maybe look at the skill sets of individuals and ask the question, are you interested in COBie? Are you interested in BIM?
Yeah.
Do you want to progress your career here? And if the answer is, do you know what, I really like doing the modelling side of things and that's where I see my skill set, brilliant, upskill them with the modelling side of it, make sure that they're the best at that. And then find someone in the business or externally to bring in that says, do you know what, I don't know anything about COBie, but I'm on Twitter, I'm researching, I want to do the degree course, I want to go and learn, I want to go and meet these people, I want to go in this training course, and I want to develop myself into this area. Because that person that doesn't have those skills is already invested and knows the career path that they want to go. So you'll get a much quicker result, a more cost-effective result of investing in that area with that person rather than trying to take someone in your organization and just give them the task. Because as you said, they'll open it up and they'll go, I'm not really interested here. I'll put that not in the top drawer, in the bottom drawer, next to their desk, and I'll forget about it. And ultimately, they get onto a project, the partners, the directors sign up to COBie thinking that person's got it. And then when it comes to it, they find out 3/4 of the way through the project or at the end of the project, actually, we haven't done the deliverables. This is going to cost us a lot of money. And then ultimately, people feel under pressure, undervalued. I didn't want to do that job. And then they leave the company and they lose a really good modeler because you forced them to do something that really they weren't interested in. And it's a really difficult thing for an employer.
Yeah, because, it is. I totally agree. Everything you said, and I have seen that firsthand in other companies I've visited. So there's been a few clients I've been in that we're trying to upskill them. But again, some of the staff have said, and again, it's great that they are honest, saying exactly what you said. I like doing Revit. I like doing detailing. Now, I'm an architect. I'm an engineer. This is what I want to do day to day. I don't want to sit down and read standards or write now hundreds of pages worth of BIM execution plans, or I'm not really the right person to train staff, So it's, again, training is quite, not everyone can train. It is quite a specialist now, having to listen. Again, even being a BIM manager, probably a lot of BIM managers I will know, they basically say their day job is just firefighting and constantly listening to people moaning at them. Why are we doing it? Why did we do that? It used to be simple years ago. So again, it takes a very, very special person to almost like take it on the chin every single day, because most of the time it is a thankless job, and most people will say that. But again, like you said, you have to find the right person. So sometimes it is better to recruit within. If you can actually get a member of staff, like I said, who's very, very keen, wants to drive the technology, likes it so much, they will actually invest hundreds of thousands of hours of their own time reading and researching. I know lots of people who have done this, and that's why I'd probably that's how I got here, because now I was the geeky one. I always wanted to learn new software. I was always developing like the CAD standards in my companies I work for, and I was always trying to push it. It's like one of my. It's probably got me into trouble a lot of time, but it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
So if I thought it was the right way to go about it, maybe that's maybe being a bit bullshit, being the Scottish in me, but I usually go for it and show them this is what you can do. You didn't have permission for that, I know, but this was the right way to go for it, and I'd prove it. So there's different ways you can tackle it. Most people won't do that. That especially the younger generation. They're more, they want to be told what to do rather than actually go out and do it themselves. So I get that. That's an education and a maturity thing. As you look back in your career, you can look at things and go, I wish I'd done things differently. So through that, I try and help others through what I've done over the last 30 years.
I think there's the world of construction and engineering is changing, and I think those individuals who are just coming into the industry, or maybe even 10 years into the industry, will do things differently once they get up to that director level, and they'll see the issues and technology is changing, and it's fantastic. I love recruiting within this market. I love the technology. I love the sustainability. I love not knowing what COBie is and then walking away from this meeting and going, right, I have a bit of an understanding of what this actually is, and I don't feel so, I'm going to use the word stupid when a client says, COBie, uneducated. I don't mind calling myself stupid, but uneducated. And I think, the industry has got so much more to give when it comes to technology, and this is just a short snippet of COBie, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this and delivering a fantastic presentation on it, and I certainly feel more educated. What's next for Digital Guerrilla? What's happening over the next 6 to 12 months now?
Again, it's just probably just the supporting more clients. There's quite a few interesting projects in the pipeline that we've just signed up. Obviously, we released the Digital Guerrilla Academy a few months ago, which is based.
Tell us a bit about that.
So that's based. We've developed over the last 4 years a 2-day course on COBie, and it's from COBie, Revit, and IFC and classifications, Uni Class 2015. So basically, it's a whole information management approach and how to actually deliver proper IFC and proper COBie through Revit. The various tool sets. So basically, we took that 2-day classroom and basically just put it online. So it's through a platform called thinkific.com. So again, you can go on our website and you can find it. It's basically a 12-month subscription, but it's basically just 65 videos ranging from 2 minutes to 10 minutes, and you take your time. There's a full data set, and there's like 150-page guidance documents. So basically, it's a lot of information to help educate people. But again, it's like all training. They need to invest. They need to watch. They need to read. They need to understand and ask questions of how it all works as well.
And can you go back? Is it a sequence from one to?
It is a sequence.
Or can you go back to if you forgot about?
That's the whole point why I set up for like now 12 months is. And we are looking at various options now. The next year will be 50% stuff like So it's not always going to be full price for all the assistant students. But basically, you can chop and choose what you actually look at. So you might look at a section and go, well, I really already understand the classification manager, so I'll maybe look at the model checker, or I'll look at how we quality control and check our COBie export. So you can just concentrate on those things. But I always tell people, it's like they say, we already do COBie. I always say, when people tell me that, and I always very skeptical. Let's go, well, that's great. You might think you know all, but at least go and read or watch to at least validate what you do know. Because again, you might pick up some tips, or you might pick up a new way of thinking about things. You go, I never really appreciated that before. Or there might be some cheat sheets or presentation material. You go, this could actually be quite good to maybe show others in a team meeting, or this is how we should actually be doing things. So again, those training is all about. Training is all about hopefully always learning things. But even if you know everything, if you come away with a few tips or things how to do things better, then to me the training's been worthwhile. So that's what we try and promote as well.
Training's about reminding people as well. So it's not about, sometimes it's not about the new things. Sometimes it's reminding yourself about all those good habits that you've forgotten about.
And that's why I thought it was quite important to try and put this online, because you know yourself, if you sit like 2 or 3 days in a classroom, you'll forget what you've done in day one, because there's a lot of material you're going through. So having that ability to go back and review it now,
Yeah.
now 3 months, now 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, to me is worthwhile as well. So there's that, and obviously just keep working with our existing clients and helping our stuff as well. Again, we do lecturing at Caledonian University, and we're also working with BSI, delivering their BIM program. So again, there's lots of good stuff coming up, which is quite good actually. So the last 4 years has been a blast. So I'm really enjoying it.
Excellent. Well, listen, I think that's us pretty much rounded things off there, which was excellent. Is there anything else you would like to add, Graham? It's been great having you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me. I think the whole thing I like to add is that, again, clients need to understand better what it is they're asking designers to deliver or contracts to deliver. Designers need to better understand what it is they're delivering. It's not just drawings, but it's data. So make sure they read the EIRs and make sure they fully understand what their liabilities are. Again, in the UK, we have a 12-year legal framework now. So your data, you might think the data you're delivering is correct today, but what happens in year 11 when the client gets his magic COBie system and he uploads your spreadsheet and the computer says no, how much is it going to cost you to fix it? So there's a major risk that designers and contractors need to appreciate. And again, contractors getting the supply chain on board, because again, the supply chain is probably at least a decade away. So again, getting them on board, make sure they're delivering 3D models and understanding the data as well. And again, everyone is basically just, they need to invest in themselves. And again, it's time for research the standards, read the standards, make sure you understand standards. If you don't understand it, get onto Twitter, get in touch with me, get in touch with others. And again, just keep the conversation going.
Brilliant. If anyone is looking to reach out to yourself, how do they go about it? What's your website address?
Yeah, so that they can get me through LinkedIn. Again, Graham H. Stewart. They can get me on Twitter, Stewart, STEWARTGH, 1970. Gives away my age. I'm grand old age of 50 next month, which is great. They can also get in touch on my website, which is digital-guerrilla.scot. So again, there's various ways they can get in touch with me.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, listen, great having you on. I'm sure there'll be more podcasts if you would like to join us for some other subjects at some point, and we'll wrap things up there. And have a great day, and we'll speak to you soon, Graham.
Cheers.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Bye.